The fall of a parasite. The next morning, Sandra Miller approached Thomas discreetly. "Mr. Mitchell, I have to talk to you about Richard. He's pushing to fire Diana, but I have no legal grounds. He's suggesting there are discriminatory implications in her presence here." Thomas feigned surprise. "People like her." Sandra hesitated. "Yes, sir. I believe his conduct is discriminatory." "Then you need to document everything officially," Thomas said, his voice hardening. "Open an internal investigation." That night, Thomas implemented Phase 2. He had the department install additional microphones in areas where Richard had intimidated employees. Officially, it was a security upgrade. In reality, it was a trap. On Friday, Richard, believing he was alone, made a call from his office. Thomas listened from his monitors. "Dad," Richard said, "that situation we talked about, the black cleaning lady, she's becoming a problem. I need you to use your contacts to create some legal difficulties for her, suspicion of theft, problems with documentation, anything to force her to resign." His father's voice crackled through the speaker. "Richard, are you sure you're not overreacting? A mere cleaning lady." "Dad, it's a matter of principle. If we allow these people to feel too comfortable, they'll be demanding rights they don't deserve. It's better to take care of this before other employees, similar ones, start getting ideas." Thomas recorded every word, a cold satisfaction settling in his gut. Richard had just confessed to a conspiracy to fabricate evidence and explicit racial discrimination. On Monday, Marcus arrived with a briefcase full of evidence. "Thomas, you won't believe what I found," he said. "Richard has posts on private social media that are genuine white supremacist manifestos, conversations in closed groups where he and other executives make jokes about black employees. There's more. He used his father's influence to sabotage black candidates in other companies. It's a 15-year pattern of systematic discriminatory behavior. This is gold, Marcus," Thomas said, looking at screenshots of conversations where Richard wrote things like, "Need to keep those monkeys in their place." "Wait, there's more. He's planning something against Diana this week. I intercepted messages. He's organizing a staged theft." Thomas's blood ran cold. "What do you mean?" "He's going to plant something expensive in her cleaning supplies, and then discover it publicly. He'll call the police, make a scene, humiliate her in front of everyone." A smile that didn't reach his eyes spread across Thomas's face. "Perfect. Let him try. The further he goes, the harder he'll fall." On Tuesday, Richard executed his plan with the arrogant confidence of a man who had never faced consequences. At 8 p.m., he planted a $15,000 Rolex watch in Diana's cleaning cart. "Perfect," he muttered to himself, watching through the security cameras. "I'll give her 15 minutes to start. Then I'll catch her red-handed." What he didn't know was that Thomas was upstairs, watching his every move on a bank of high-resolution monitors. Marcus was in a van in the parking lot with recording equipment. 3 investigative journalists were waiting outside. At 8:20, Richard descended with 2 security guards. "Mrs. Diana," he said with false courtesy, "I need to check your cleaning supplies. We've had reports of missing items." Diana stopped, confused. "Mr. Blackwood, I don't understand." "It's standard procedure," Richard lied, walking directly to the cart. "Ah, how interesting. What's this?" He held up the Rolex with exaggerated theatricality. "Diana Jefferson. This is a $15,000 watch that went missing from Mr. Mitchell's office yesterday." Diana's face went white. "I've never seen that watch in my life." "Of course not," Richard said with a poisonous smirk. "It just magically appeared on your cart, didn't it?" Jasmine stood up, frightened. "Mommy, what's going on?" "Be quiet, child," Richard barked. "Your mother will have to come with us to explain how expensive items magically appear in her materials." One of the guards was already on the phone. "We need to report a theft in progress." It was at that moment that Thomas appeared at the office door with Marcus and the 3 journalists. "Richard," Thomas said, his voice calm, "I think you should hang up that phone." "Thomas, I'm glad you're here. We caught your employee stealing your watch." Thomas laughed, a cold, hard sound. My watch. Richard, I've been wearing an Apple Watch for 5 years. I've never owned a Rolex. The confidence on Richard's face began to crack. What? I'm saying we just recorded you planting a watch you bought this morning. We have the receipt. We watched you plant it in Diana's cart to frame her. Marcus held up a tablet, showing high-definition footage of Richard placing the watch. Angle 1, Angle 2, Angle 3. We even have your face clearly visible when you check to make sure no one is watching. Richard tried to speak, but Thomas cut him off. Oh, but there's so much more. Marcus, show him the scrapbook. Marcus opened a digital file on a portable screen. Screenshots of Richard's racist posts appeared. Need to keep these monkeys in their place. Marcus read aloud. That's yours, isn't it, Richard? Richard's face was a mask of shock. Where did you get this? The security system you approved yourself, remember, Thomas said, including that call to your father, plotting to fabricate evidence against an innocent employee. And these 3 are with Channel 7 News. Richard finally understood. You can't use that. I have rights. Of course you do, Thomas said calmly. The right to remain silent, because anything you say will be used against you, not just by the police who are already on their way, but by the press, the company board, and Diana's lawyers. The police arrived. Richard was placed under arrest for conspiracy, harassment, racial discrimination, and attempted defamation. As he was led away in handcuffs, he looked at Diana with a raw, unadulterated hatred. This won't stand, he spat. My family has influence. Had influence. Marcus corrected him. As of this morning, when all the evidence was leaked to every major media outlet, your father called hours ago asking to be removed from the company's contact list. Diana, who had remained in shock, finally found her voice. Mr. Mitchell, did you know this was going to happen? Diana, I knew he was prejudiced, but I didn't imagine he'd try to destroy you with false evidence. When I discovered his plan, I decided it was time to stop watching passively. Jasmine ran to Thomas. Mr. Thomas, will the bad man stop scaring Mommy now? Thomas knelt down to her level. Yes, sweetheart, he'll never bother you again. 6 months later, Diana Jefferson walked through the halls of Mitchell Enterprises, not as a cleaning lady, but as the director of human resources. Thomas had created the position for her, impressed by the business degree she had never been able to afford to complete. Her first decision was to create a scholarship program for employees' children, with Jasmine as the first beneficiary. Mommy, can I show Ma? Thomas, my new drawing. Jasmine, now 7, asked, running through the office that had become her second home. She attended a top private school and was already talking about becoming a lawyer to help people. Richard Blackwood, meanwhile, was living a completely different reality. After serving 18 months in prison, he was released to find his reputation utterly destroyed. No reputable company would hire him. His wife had divorced him, and his children had changed their last name. The man who was once a vice president now worked as a used car salesman, earning less in a year than Diana made in 3 months. His racist posts continued to circulate online, haunting him like digital ghosts. On Jasmine's 10th birthday, Thomas made a special announcement. Jasmine, Diana, you have changed my life. That's why I've created the Jasmine Jefferson Educational Fund, which will provide college scholarships to talented young people for the next 50 years. Jasmine ran to hug him. Thank you for believing in us when no one else did. That same day, Richard was rejected for a job at a gas station after the manager Googled his name. His fall had been so complete and public that it was a case study in business schools. Thomas realized that true revenge wasn't about destroying Richard. It was about building something bigger than he could have ever imagined. He had turned an ordinary company into a symbol of social justice and created opportunities for hundreds of people. The honesty of a 6-year-old taught me that the best response to hatred is love and action, Thomas said in a speech at Harvard University. Richard tried to bring us down, but he ended up lifting us to heights we never dreamed we could reach. Today, Jasmine is on her way to Harvard. Diana has an MBA and is a nationally recognized HR innovator, and Richard lives alone, a cautionary tale of what happens when someone underestimates the power of human decency combined with the determination to do what is right.